62 days, 2 months. It's all the time that remains in the 2024 presidential race. We are 6 days out from the presidential debate between Vice President Harris and the Donald. This is the warning. The Donald is laying low. Now, he'll never say that he's deeply engaged in debate prep, but that's exactly what he's doing. He thinks by lying about that fact, by telling his supporters that he was born ready, that he doesn't need any preparation, that somehow he looks stronger. But if you look at his interviews, he looks tired, beaten, dragged down, dragged across the pavement, losing. Where is Donald Trump's energy? He did a couple of podcasts over Labor Day and Labor Day weekend that are just coming out. Let's take apart Donald Trump's worldview and his insanities.
I could have done a big number on Hillary Clinton. I thought it looked terrible to take the president's wife and put her in prison. She's so lucky. I didn't do anything. She's so lucky. Hillary is a lucky woman because I had a lot of people pushing me to. They wanted to see something, but I could have done something very bad. I thought it looked so bad. Think of it. You have the president of the United States, and you also had Secretary of State, right? She was. But you're going to put the president's wife in prison?
The Donald threatened Americans. He does it usually in the form of one of his opponents, most often Hillary Clinton. You see, Donald likes to tell us he's benign, not dangerous, because when he had power, he decided not to, I guess, lock up, in his words, the president's wife, maybe put her into a camp, shoot her. Who knows what it is that he's talking about, because Secretary Clinton, former First Lady of the United States and a United States Senator, has never been indicted, let alone convicted of a crime like the convicted felon, Donald Trump. Now, we have to dig in here because Donald Trump is making a threat. This is a threat. What he's saying is arbitrarily, because he wanted to, or because he thought it might be in his interest, or he just doesn't like the idea of anyone opposing him, he has the power to lock up and arrest Americans, any American. Understand this. If he claims the power to arbitrarily lock up Secretary Hillary Clinton, one of the most famous people in the world, a woman who a generation ago said human rights are women's rights and women's rights are human rights, what that means is he can lock up and do anything he wants to anyone because, according to him, he has the power. The power, he thinks, is unlimited. That's what he thinks the presidency is. Let's watch him talk about it with a Moms for Liberty loon.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you might be able to do as president.
Well, you can do everything. President has such power. It does. It has such power.
Power. The power to detain you because he doesn't like what you think. Over and over again, Donald Trump has threatened Americans for revenge and for retribution. And here you get to hear Donald Trump espouse the worldview. The fact that an American who opposes him gets to walk around free isn't because they have inalienable rights. It isn't because they have constitutional protections and guarantees that make it impossible for the state to interfere in their speech, in their worship, in their assembly. According to Trump, it's because of his generosity of spirit. It's dangerous and it's a threat. What he's saying is, as he said many times, so long as everybody's nice to me, I guess no one gets locked up, prosecuted under false charges, shot, or goes to jail. So long as Trump wins every election and everybody votes the right way, we won't see any more violence on the days that we set in motion the peaceful transfer of power. You see, it's our fault because we provoked Trump to have to use the power that he has for Trump. How sick and twisted can you get inside a democratic society built on the concepts of liberty and freedom? Always there is the threat, and closely behind it, the slur. Donald Trump is about to slur Vice President Harris.
They said, "Sir, would you come to the grave?" And then they said, when we were there, it's very sad, actually, because these people shouldn't have died. They shouldn't have died. They died because of Biden and because of Kamala. They died because it's just like if they pulled the trigger, okay? Now, I don't know if that's controversial to say, but I don't think it is.
He doesn't blame the Taliban who killed American soldiers. He blames Americans. The reason the United States of America left Afghanistan in chaos and disorder is because the Trump administration mandated America surrender to the Taliban on a date certain. The idea that Vice President Harris pulled the trigger is an obscenity, an obscenity almost as great as this picture, which was meant purposefully to be taken on that spot to amplify the politics of the slur. It's how the Donald works. There are threats and there are slurs, and none of it is true except for the threats, because he honestly believes he has the power to kill you. And so do a lot of the people around him. People like Stephen Miller, who in the Oval Office was rebuked by the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who turned to him and said, "Shut the fuck up, Stephen," after he asked if the military could incinerate a boat full of refugees off of San Diego. Giving these people power is beyond dangerous. By the way, do you ever wonder how it is that Donald Trump comes up with this stuff? Quote, his truth? Now we know. Thanks to a podcast. Let's watch the amazingness.
What are you doing usually when you're composing a truth? Like, are you chilling back on a couch?
Couches, beds.
Okay.
A lot of different things.
So, lying in bed or on the couch, he comes up with the nonsense, the slurs and the threats, and out they go, washing all over America. The fascist Don couch surfing, a hobby he shares in common, apparently, with his vice presidential candidate. And of course, there's reality. Look at how uncomfortable Donald Trump is talking about his close friend, Jeffrey Epstein.
Why do you think so many smart, powerful people allowed him to get so close?
He was a good salesman. He was, was a hale and hearty type of guy. He had some nice assets that he'd throw around, like islands. But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them.
God, he must be pissed that this young man dared to ask him about it, not understanding how worried the Donald is with this question. But it is an exposition of reality, except the assets that the Donald is talking about here aren't the planes and the island. It's all the young women. And we know that Donald loves young women, whether it was bursting into the dressing rooms at the Miss Teen USA pageant, sexualizing his daughter. We know what Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein shared in common, along with a lot of other very sick and powerful men who believe they have the power to invent their own realities, to slur anybody they want. But when Donald Trump answers this question about Jeffrey Epstein, it opens a door to how fantastical and how full of shit his answers to almost everything are. let's watch him talk about China and his secret plans to avoid war and his secret plan to end the Ukraine war.
How do we avoid war with China in the 21st century?
Well, there are ways now. Here's the problem. If I tell you how, and I'd love to do it, but if I give you a plan, like I have a very exacting plan how to stop Ukraine and Russia, and I have a certain idea, maybe not a plan, but an idea for China, because we're in a lot of trouble. They'll be in a lot of trouble too, but we're in a lot of trouble. But I can't give you those plans because if I give you those plans, I'm not going to be able to use them. They'll be very unsuccessful.
Putin is counting down the days until maybe Trump is back in the White House where he can get the best deal he can get, because in the White House will be an idiot, a weakling, and an appeaser. That's good for Russia. That's good for China. It's bad for our allies and good for every autocrat in the world. Here's the truth about Trump. He's the most unfit man to ever hold political power in America. He's morally unfit. He's intellectually unfit. He's spiritually unfit. He is incompetent at an epic level. He was the worst president in American history. Yet somehow his fluency in English has unlocked some type of anesthetic that numbs the ability of normal people to think for themselves. It makes them look to join his awful community. Maybe because it makes their lives a bit more exciting. Who knows? But when you watch it all in total, Trump is a demagogue and a liar, a fool of epic dimensions, a clown, but a dangerous one, because he's the type of clown who believes he has the power to do as he pleases. It's an un-American belief, and it's dangerous. And he keeps saying the quiet part out loud. Donald Trump actually believes he has the power to kill his political opponents. He believes a sign of his grace is his choice so far not to do it. It's all madness, all of it. Make it stop. Americans have the power to do that. They just have to throw a switch or check a box. It's called the vote. And the vote is how we make the madness end. This is The Warning. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning. And I invite you to subscribe on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.